Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Thursday. It's February 15th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and this will wrap up our week. No chart lessons on Fridays. I know I say that a lot, but the reason is because we always have new people coming in, and people will inevitably ask me, where's the chart lesson on Friday? So I don't do one on Friday. Try to get out of here by lunchtime on Friday and start my weekend. So after doing this for 20 plus years, it starts to get difficult to do this 5 days a week, so I've dropped it to 4 days a week. So anyway, let's get to the chart lesson. Here's our daily chart. You can see another bullish day today. Again, like always, we spent a lot of time sideways during the day, and then we rallied. We rallied kind of late, and it ends up being another big rally day. So, but let's flip over there to the 2000 tick chart. You can see it here. Here's a look at it on the daily chart. This is today's bar, very bullish. But let's flip over and take a look on the 2000 tick chart. And as you can see, we started out sideways again. And this thing drops, fails out the bottom, right, breaks higher, and it just keeps going straight on up. And we get that late afternoon rally where it closes right into the high of the day almost. So, interesting day again. We did have some consistent lows and some consistent highs here for the day. So we did have that going for us. Gave us a few trades. And you'll notice here, normally you won't see me mark very many trades in the center of a range. I did today. We'll talk about them as we get there, why I actually liked them today. Really, by the time we got here, it's a repeat pattern. But normally you won't see that. You won't see many trades in the center of a tight range like that. But anyway, let's zoom in. There weren't a lot of afternoon trades either. So, but let's zoom in, go through the trades, and we'll wrap this day up. We had this 7:30 news, several different high volatility announcements. We had unemployment, retail sales, and some manufacturing, the state manufacturing index. And so you need to be flat 15 minutes or so going into that. We end up with just two legs up and it turns right down. This was a new high at this point. We wouldn't have had your stuff up here, or your highs up here, I guess I should say. But we quickly make a lower high, plenty of room back to the EMA. Very bearish bar. I like going short right there. This is really just two legs up, and then we just come right back down again. And generally, that's what will happen after a news item. They'll take it back and it'll reset. This time we went a little bit lower. There was another. Technically, this is not a second entry because it didn't break higher first or make a higher low. So you really couldn't tell, even though it looks like somewhat like a second entry. Or even a lower high, it's not. It's just a continuation of that move. So no entry there. There is a second entry here, but you can't go short right into all that support. It would have worked, but you don't know that in advance, and you just can't take that trade. And then of course you get a failure reversal right here that broke lower and failed and turned up. I like going long when it breaks above that bar there. This is a reversal, so it doesn't matter what that signal bar looks like. If you waited till it's closed, I don't think I would take it. It's got a little stem, and it closed back equal to that. And if I didn't take that on the engulfing bar, I'd probably sit tight. There's another second entry long right here, but look how congested. Look at the resistance right there. We're turning down at the midline, so I'd sit tight on that one. Again, it works, but you don't know that in advance, and if you follow the rules, you just simply can't take that. But here's one of these shorts. Notice that it breaks out and it fails, and then it makes a lower high that closes back on the other side of the midline. For that reason, I like that because you're really trading the breakout here. You had the trend channel coming up, but you had a break and already two swings up to a new high, or two legs up to a new high. So I like that one. It makes a lower high here, But you got to go short way down here, and you got a triple bottom really right there. If that would have been a good signal bar, maybe you consider going long on that second entry, but it's not. And this runs up, you get a break, a new high, and you get a second entry right there. So I like this one, another second entry. We had some resistance right there before. So with the break and two legs up, and or with a break and a leg up and a second being a second entry, I like that. Just to ride it back to the EMA, you're way away from the EMA still, and this turns out to be a pretty good move. Runs down here and you just get going sideways again, and then once again you have a failed breakout. This one doesn't make a lower high, but it makes a second entry short, and it actually breaks higher and fails and turns down. I like going short there. Just trading that again is a failure. And where does it go? Right back down to the lows and bounces again. But you don't get a chance to go long there. Runs on up. You get a close outside, a move to a new high. Now this one pretty much makes an equal high there. It's a little bit higher than previous, but it's so congested here and all. And notice this doesn't break lower, and you get that inside bar. So I think you got to sit tight on that one. And sure enough, it does. It comes back up and gives you another leg, but it doesn't give you a short this time. And the bottom falls out and it just runs straight down. Notice we do get a close outside, attempted a new low. It's tempting to want to take that one because really you had a close outside there and you do get a new low. But it's not a real convincing close outside. So there's a chance it could come back and try again, which it does, but it fails. It actually breaks lower, fails, and turns up and closes almost on its high. So I like going long there. We bounced there a few times before. So that's been the consistent lower point. It's good for a scalp and nothing more. And there's actually another break lower to turn up here, but I don't think you want to trade that as a engulfing bar going long into that EMA right there. I'd wait till see what it does. And this I forgot to make that one green just so you see it's an uptrend. And then all of a sudden you get a break. And so I don't think you want to go long on that big of a bar at the high, and I don't think you want to enter that on the engulfing bar. So it is a bearish bar, so it's not like a doji or anything. It's just you got to go long right into the EMA when it's not completely apparent that we've made we've made a low. We may still attempt to retest this low here after that trend down. Then we're just chopping sideways, and once again you get another repeat here where we break out and then make a lower high, and it actually breaks higher first and turns down. You could trade that on the engulfing bar, and if you didn't, I don't think I would go short there because it closes and bounces and it closes above the midline, but it's a repeat pattern, and for that reason on the engulfing bar I'd probably take that one. I mean, we did it 3 times. That's the third time in a row we've made that same setup there. And again, you wouldn't normally see me mark a lot of trades in the middle because it can be dangerous. But in this case, I really like them all. There's a break higher here that fails and turns down, but there's just so much support there that you can't trade that on an engulfing bar. Plus, it has no body. And by the time it closes, it's already at the lows again. And it's actually closed a little lower than what we've had previously. And ends up moving down before it bounces. And you can't go long or short in here. It's just there's nothing setting up there. That's tempting to go long on that second entry, but there's not room to scalp out. I think it would have worked, but you still don't want to take that. Yeah, there's just another. It gets exactly 6 ticks, and that's the beauty of second entries. I mean, they're very powerful, and there's a reason we scalp out for 6 or 4 ticks because it takes 6 ticks, and you'd be surprised how many times it'll move exactly 6 ticks and then reverse. And notice it would have stopped you out before it went exactly where you thought it was going to go. There's a high or low here that breaks lower and fails and turns up, but again, we got some resistance across there. I would wait and see if you get a high or low, and notice it doesn't really go anywhere. But there's no chance to enter that one. Turns down here, comes back. I don't think you want to enter that one because we're still in that channel. But you do get a break and attempt at a new low, and it makes a 2-bar matching low and a nice bullish bar. So that's a second entry with a chance to go long back in the range. So I like that one. You probably don't get a runner, but quick, easy scalp, and it just kind of chops on up. And it finds resistance up here again. It makes a lower high here, but the signal bar is no good. But then it makes another failure here. It breaks higher and turns down. So it's like a triple test with you're making a slightly lower low each time. So it's just a chance to get short at the high of the range. I don't think I would take that on the engulfing bar. I'd wait for that to close. And just make sure you got room to get out between here, between the low and the, and if you do, you probably take that trade. And you might take that on the engulfing bar, but I'd probably wait and make sure it closes bearish. And then it's tempting to want to go long here, but then you get an inside bar that doesn't break higher, and you can't go long here. So, and it runs up. You get a close outside, a leg up, and then you get a first entry, second entry. And so I didn't mark this because it's not a good second entry, but I know somebody probably asked me about it. It's just too sideways and congested, and we've already got a breaking new high. A lot of times you'll get 2 legs up, and notice there's a second entry, so it might be a measured 2 legs up, which you can see it is. But that's still very risky, and I would just skip it because we're not back to the EMA, we're not back to the midline. We didn't quite make the high yet, so there's a good chance we could be going back, but it's just kind of in no man's land. And there's not a lot of room. I think there's enough room to scalp out there. I mean, it's real close. There is enough room. I mean, maybe you can argue for that to be green, but in real time, I just didn't like it because of where it's set up. But we'll mark that green. And then we run back down. We get a little failed breakout. We're just kind of bouncing along here. This was a higher low. Again, I didn't mark it because it looks a little congested. But it's another one that you could argue for. You might take. He made a little triple test there. Tried to go lower 3 times. So maybe you take that trade. There's just not much room to this last high. That's kind of the problem there. And you see it does turn down there, but it ends up pushing higher anyway. But you just don't know that it's going to be able to do that. And then it comes back and makes another low here. It's a very low risk 5-tick bar. It's just not, I mean, it's bullish. It closes in its upper 2/3 there. So, and it's just a chance to get long at the lows again. So, but the problem is you're still in this channel, and you did have a little failed break higher up here. So that means that, sometimes those will reverse. But it doesn't. It breaks higher, and I think it's probably worth marking it at least green. And then we're just chopping sideways again. Again, you get a higher low here, but that's moved too far. You might say, hey, there's a failure there, but that's not where you're looking for a failure. So again, I just don't think you can take that trade. And it runs up, it breaks out, fails. You don't get a lower high or anything, breaks out again. And you do get a lower high here, but I don't think you can enter on that engulfing bar right there with that doji type bar. And by the time it closes, there's just too much stem, so the bar doesn't qualify. It ends up working, but I just don't think you can take that trade. And then you don't really get a chance to go long here either. And it takes you into 2:30. So not much going on in the afternoon. There's some green ones here. And there might be a couple more. You might argue, hey, those could be green. And maybe you take them, but they're just aggressive. And I mean, there were plenty of trades here early on. And so I think you needed to make most of your money here before 11 o'clock today, before lunchtime anyway. So, but again, this market just keeps working higher. And we still haven't quite tested that previous high. So we still got a little room to go. And I would expect prices are going to test that before we turn down, if we do turn down at all. So we'll see what tomorrow brings, but this market just wants to go higher. And so don't argue with it. If it's trending higher, go with it. If it turns down, we'll ride down with it. But it is what it is. And but I'm gonna wrap it up. This is gonna wrap it up for the week. We'll be back again to do it Monday. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next.